Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
All right, so tonight's topic, even though we are still well in May, you and I, and any live stream followers.
Well in May, like 3 days. Woo, well in May.
Anyway, this episode will go out for the regular feeds, and even the Patreon feed will be in June. So I wanted it to be our first episode of June, since it's Pride Month. I wanted to talk because I've actually had this topic in the can for a few weeks. I want to talk about corporate pride, companies doing companies doing activism. And the reason I want to talk about that is we over the last 10 years or so, we've heard lots of people talking about the agendas and everything. And one of the things that came up this about a month ago was a family member of mine mentioned that Nike was doing a Pride collection, and then they said, I don't have a problem with there being a thing for Pride, but why do they need to have a whole collection?
One pair of sneakers is fine, but
the point that this person was trying to make,
it's you said it, we heard you.
The point that we were trying to make was
Sam.
It was not Sam.
I know it wasn't Sam.
The point that I think that I don't care so much about her knowing that we're talking about this episode on the episode. It's more that I don't want everybody else to know who I'm talking about. But it's not Sam though. The point of the comment was kind of they're shoving it down our throats, and my immediate response was I wanted to argue, but I was not in a spot where. I was in a spot where nobody that was in the room would have agreed with my argument. So I was like, I'm not going to get into this fight right now. And I'm just going to back up. And so, but I did, the more I thought about it, and it's been, 3 weeks to a month now, I was like, the idea of a collection like that is not Nike or any other group or any other, corporation trying to shove an agenda down our throats. It's an agenda or a political movement being so big that they are now they're a demand. And there's no difference between a collection for Pride or Black History or anything else than there is for every single time. Every year at Disney World, there is. If you go to Disney World on any given year, there is going to be it's the 100 year of Disney Corporation, and then the next year it's the 50 year of Disney World, and then it's the 75 year of Disneyland, and there's always something, because if they have something special all the time, you can just they can make you buy the next thing over and over and over again. It's just capitalism. And going from Black History Month to Women's History Month to mental health awareness to Pride, as much as it's important and we need to have those things, corporation wise, it's marketing. We're creating a supply based on a demand that is already out in the market. That's all it is, right?
I don't know if I'd say it's all it is. It's definitely a large part of what it is.
Yeah,
but also, they pick and choose which things they do and don't do. So
sure,
it is like you said, it's reached a point where it's a demand. So it's also an acknowledgement of where the society has come.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's, there are companies who specifically choose not to do the things.
Yeah.
So it's not like they won't just they don't do Nazi month, just to make money off.
Not anymore.
So they do pick and choose what they're going to do a month of,
But I think, and I think that there is. I don't want to be too cynical, because I do think there. If you look at something like Ben and Jerry's, Ben and Jerry's
I do
has,
look at them.
yeah, they have enough different things going on that I think Ben and Jerry's is somewhat, I don't want to say noble, but
No,
earnest in their.
it's funny that you mentioned Ben and Jerry's because I met one of them. I don't know which one. Ben, Jerry, Goldberg, Rosenberg, whatever. They're all the same. But once upon a time, we had one of them come to my company to talk about the fact that you can do well by doing good.
Yeah.
And they talked about all the things they did to, while they were trying to be profitable as a company, do it the right way. Like, for example, they heard a story in NPR about a halfway house, people getting out of prison and trying to reintegrate society, that owned a bakery. And so they had everyone worked at the bakery were people from the halfway house who were from the prison as part of their transition back into society, learn a skill. And they said, this is wonderful. So they went to them and they said, what is the one thing you can churn out the most of? And they were like, brownies. We have great brownies and it's super easy for us to make. So all the brownies and everything that had brownies at Ben and Jerry's, at least at that time, came from that bakery. Like they were just like 90% of the bakery's business became making brownies for Ben and Jerry's. And like a lot of the Ben and Jerry's standalone ice cream places are owned by charities. And 50% goes to Ben and Jerry, 50% goes to the charity to be, way for them to make money rather than just be given money. Yeah, and they had a bunch of other stories like that. Not important to do all through all of them, but that was one of their goals. That they were just two hippies who decided to make ice cream, and
Yeah.
they wanted to make sure they were always doing good while they were doing well. So yeah, so it's a good example. I mean, Taylor Swift's the other one. Taylor Swift, who gives tips thousands of dollars to staff, and knows that she disrupts wherever she goes. So she's super good to the people who work on her projects and work on the things, or just are inconvenienced by her.
Yeah. I think obviously, like, and I think those are good examples of people who are trying to do well with their money. And I think that if you look at something like a Nike or any big company, I'm sure that there's somebody in the decision room who's like, I'm going to use the fact that this is a good capitalist thing to do to help people as well. I'm sure that in most cases, there's somebody in that room going, pride sells, guys, because they actually care about. But I think there's a cynic in me that thinks a significant portion of the time, corporations are just following the money, and if they do something good, then that's fine. But
yeah, I think what it is probably things like you got someone, Suzanne, in communications, and Suzanne's like, you know what, it's such and such coming up, we should send some tweets out about that as a company, and and support them.
yeah,
And Suzanne sends that up the ladder, and the guy above Suzanne goes, oh yeah, that would look great for us, yeah, we should do that. So like the person who originated the idea was doing it because it's the altruistic right thing to do,
yeah,
and the person who signs the checks is like, won't hurt my bottom line.
right,
So, though in some cases they know it will. Like you got to know that that the companies know there is a potential for backlash when we do Pride.
yeah.
And there's probably more MAGA than there is people who are going to buy an extra product because it's Pride Month. So they probably lose money. I mean,
depending on
the slump that Bud Light
Yeah.
went to, where they ended up doing well overall. They came back from their slump because slumps are temporary.
Yeah.
But they lost Samuel Alito as a shareholder because he sold his stock because he's that plugged in with the culture wars.
Yeah. I think that I'm sure they're doing the math on the calculation of the risk, and so like Bud Light, and so here's the thing with the Bud Light situation. I'm going to weigh in on it for a second, but I'm going to sound like a douche for 1 second, but I'm being logical.
Michael Cole, hot take, douche of the week.
I have zero problems with them sponsoring Dylan Mulvaney. It was not a smart move given their customer base.
Their base.
That being said, I also think them turning and like abandoning her was fucked up, and that actually is the thing that I think is the worst part of it, is the fact that they didn't have her back and say, you know what, we've been doing Pride stuff since the 90s. Like Bud Light has had like some kind of Pride
They've had like
presence.
rainbow cans
Yeah,
forever. Yeah,
since the 90s. And what they did was what they did was so fucking minimal for her in the
well,
first
I don't even
place.
think they originally expected it to be anything. They
Yeah.
they did it one little thing. It was one of the million campaigns they do. It
Yeah.
only blew up because people got mad about it.
Right. And the only reason that someone could have gotten mad about it is some self-hating person who followed her saw that the cans or saw her mention it because the average person wasn't like it wasn't like watchdog groups watching her. It was all of a sudden she was out and like there. It was so there was some
Yeah, she made a social media post thanking them for the gift they sent her. And,
Yeah.
and someone blogged or
like
podcast or videoed or whatever, and sent it out.
Yeah, and
But-
so like they to me that was a huge fucking mistake on every level. They if they had done nothing with her, that would have been better in a lot of ways because then they wouldn't have
but
fucked
it
her
also-
over.
but Yeah, but I mean, I wonder like how much is society's there, so we have to do it because not being engaged speaks volumes. Like not supporting anyone shows that
Yeah.
you don't support them, and how much of it is investing in the future. Like
Yeah.
right now, like 10,
Oh.
20 years ago, it was a big deal to engage in Pride. Now
Yeah.
it's expected.
Yeah.
So hopping on early hurts you in the short run as
Yeah.
a marketing thing, and PR potentially, but not in the long run.
If they had done it, I just mean from a money standpoint or a perspective standpoint, doing it was kind of a dumb move. If they had done it and stuck by her the whole time and said, we don't give a shit about the profits, they'll bounce back, then I would have been like, good. And I don't drink beer, and I'm never going to support Bud for that.
That's okay because
in
Bud
that
Light
way.
really isn't beer.
But you know what I mean. But I'm not going to be like I'm not going to be a bandwagon person because I'm not going to go like drink beer to support a cause because I don't drink beer. But I would be like, oh, if I was stocking for a party, like I'd be like, oh, we can buy some Bud Light. Whereas now I feel like
Note to self: do not go to party at Mike's house.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't. I would also maybe say go bring your own beer, but the point being, now they alienated both sides to some extent because they really like left her out to dry, and that kind of sucks. But
yeah. So Pride is coming up. Yeah,
Yep.
In
by the time you
when
listen to this, it will be Pride.
yeah. So Saturday,
watch it
June 8th. I'll start plugging now. Saturday, June 8th. My town, Apex, North Carolina, is doing their Pride, which the town doesn't do because the town doesn't, gets too much shit from people who don't want them to do it. But the town does assist. It's done on town property. They do it in town hall. Like it's done by a private organization, but it's done at the town hall grounds and with extra police force and blah, blah, as opposed to the following week. Pride is in Fuquay Varina, two towns over, and it's done in spite of the town. Like the town council tries to stop it from happening, and it's just done like there's no location. It's just done downtown. Businesses participate if they want to. It's just kind of an impromptu almost kind of thing because they can't get town buy-in. So my town is not able to put funds towards it because of the people who are against it, but they do support it happening at least. They give them a location and safety for it. There's going to be drag story time. There's going to be nonstop bands. There's going to be food trucks, and there's going to be a Triangle Free Thought Society as usual at a table giving out literature and buttons and swag and
if you're
people were here.
If you're a patron, that's this coming Saturday, 5 days from now. If you're just a listener who's downloaded this episode, it's tomorrow. And if you are watching us live, which as far as I can tell, you're not. Alex,
we spent a lot of work making things go live for no one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we've had like 3 people. I don't know. I can look at we have one person viewing. I don't know. I did tell Sarah to get on because of the light to look, but I don't know that she's not on.
Honey, I got a new light. You have to watch. I'm going to look so handsome in the new light. I'm so handsome, honey. Watch me on the TV.
I'm just realizing now that she's not home. She took Logan and went. They left. I think
they're in Dallas with my wife.
Hey, that's why I haven't heard the dogs fucking barking.
Why is it so quiet here? Why is this such a good record?
We'll know when they're home. But no, but yeah. I'm if depending on what we're doing. Although I have a baseball game next week, I don't know.
Come out
can
to
I
Pride. Come
can I
visit us at Pride.
can I? Okay, so if you're the other thing is if you're watching, you may have seen us at Skepticamp, and you may be watching us because of Skepticamp, and I know that there were some Triangle Free Thought people there. If that's the case, you heard Matthew. There's going to be that the Pride event in Apex. You guys doing both that and Fuquay?
Yep, we will have
Nice,
tables both.
nice. I will the following week after that. I'll be in Massachusetts, so I wouldn't be able to do that. But I was going to say I just want to plug that for anybody. So we spoke I spoke at Skepticamp this past week. I think it went okay. I think Skepticamp went great. I think my talk went okay.
From one person I spoke to who was there. I only spoke to one person, so I'm not saying other people said otherwise. He thought your speech was excellent. He thought you were incredibly kind and giving to let people derail you to talk about aphasia for half the thing, and you're so considerate to them and answer their questions.
That's great that he thought that. Now
I said I would have just said, "Listen to the pod anyway," and move on.
So this is what happened. I spent the week writing out what I was going to say. And then I woke up the morning of, and I was like, and I woke up early because I couldn't sleep well. And I was like, fuck it, I got to rewrite this. And I did like a bunch of rewrites on it. And then I got there and I had a notebook. And as people spoke, because I was the second last speaker for the day, as people spoke, I would kind of like, oh crap, this part that I was going to mention is now redundant, including like the guy who went up before me. Great. Everybody that spoke was great. So this isn't a shitting on them. This is just more like a going second to last. It's kind of like the second to last in a roast where fuck they used the best jokes. But like there were several things that I was like it will be too redundant. It will sound like I'm copying. And I started like I was making mental notes and notes the whole day. And then when I got time to say my piece, I spoke a little faster than I wished, and I ran through my entire 10-minute talk in 5 minutes. And Faith held up the 5-minute sign, and I'm like, "Fuck, I am out of shit to say," and I'm halfway done. And the guy who had spoke before me had mentioned he was a neuroscientist or brain, I don't know, and he was talking about how he had just heard he had mentioned in his talk right before that he had heard about a not an illness but a mental state in which some people don't hear their own inner monologue, and he was sitting dead center front row, and I said, by the way, you mentioned that, and I have aphantasia, which is that I don't see mental images, and I was like hoping to buy like a minute, and I could have bought 30 minutes out of that.
Marcus said the place went nuts. So everybody had a question.
Someone was like, "Do you dream?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then as I was in there, and then Jeff came over and to take the mic back as I was finishing up, and he goes, "You really buried the lead." And I was like, and he's like, maybe, and then people were saying you should maybe do a talk on it. I'm like, there's an episode of the podcast. I like mentioned it several times. I'm like, where we do that. Corporate pride. Let's not get too derailed. We actually have a good topic that we want to I want to really drill down on. And it doesn't have to be pride. I mean, I also think.
So when I worked in communications in a company, one of the concerns we had around not pride necessarily, but just even holidays that were going on was like once we start doing communications about them, even just like a tweet, we kind of put ourselves in a corner of we better not miss one because it will look intentional.
Yeah.
Like why didn't you do Veterans Day? When you did this, and so it became you're buying. You better do everything that you support. Maybe there's things you don't support in your intent, but it's going to look like you don't support it if you don't do it.
Yeah. Oh, like, I during the first week of the Trump presidency, it may have been like day 2 of the Trump presidency. It was Holocaust Remembrance Day. And they made they had some statement that they released, and they never said the word Jewish in that. And a person that I was friends with on Facebook was like, "This is Jewish erasure of the Holocaust," and I'm like, look, I hate this guy, and I don't think he's going to do a good job, but do we think that they did I mean, they mentioned the Holocaust. If they weren't going to mention Jews, just don't mention the Holocaust. And so it's kind of that same thing of like the lack of the word does make people think that, and I'm like, I don't know. I think,
But it's also the person who it is and who his base is. I could see, like, I don't, like, who knows? But like, if Biden didn't say it, I'm like, that was an oversight. That was a
yeah,
big miss. Trump doesn't do it. I'm like, oh, he didn't want to piss off his base.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so it's, and I'm not
yeah.
necessarily saying that's
Stephen
truth,
Miller
but
was
it's easy to
saying
make
it.
that assumption. Yeah. Stephen Miller.
No, I don't remember if it was Stephen Miller. I don't know. He's the one that's, I can't remember if he's one of the Jewish ones or if he's one of the ones that was full blown. That's the thing, is that he's got tokens and he's got Nazis, and I just can't keep them straight. You know what I mean?
Stephen Miller is definitely in the Nazi camp,
Yeah.
regardless of whether he's Jewish too.
Yeah. I think that the other side of the agenda side, thing about corporate allyship or corporate um, activism is when it's when it's our side, and I think the other side does this more than we do. I but when it's our side, and when I say our, I mean literally everybody's. When it's your side of the argument that the corporation's on, you defend it as well. It's capitalism and free speech, and then when it's the other side, it's kowtowing to. And I do think that there is. I think that there is a. I don't think it's a both sides situation. There's a little bit on our side, and there's a lot on their side. Like, whereas like they, like there's businesses, like industries that have boomed up from providing conservative messaging for coffee, and like this coffee isn't lib cook
Rudy
coffee.
Giuliani is selling coffee now.
Is he now? Okay.
Yeah.
He actually sources directly from the.
Yeah, that was the slow drip.
But
he was percolating at the time.
But like, and as much as like I will not support those things, I also recognize there's some business person going, we can make America First coffee, or America, it's like, and
I was at NASCAR this weekend at the tailgating side of NASCAR, and there's tents up, at different places selling all these shirts, and there's all these, let's go Brandon stuff, and there's Trump stuff, and like I'm looking at it, and like half the things are being sold by, people who are ethnic minorities who look like they printed up a bunch of stuff and they're trying to,
oh yeah,
make some money. And I'm like, I bet they don't give a shit. They're selling what sells. I bet they don't give a shit about the candidate they're selling it
Yeah,
about.
and there is a huge part of me that has. I mean, I think you definitely have heard this. Most of the listeners who've been listening for a while have heard me. I'm not huge on capitalism. I'm just not. But there are parts of capitalism that I can go, well, it makes sense at least. And I think that saying like, oh, here's a group of people, here's a group of people who want a thing, and I'm going to provide it to them. That is one of the lesser offensive things about capitalism. That can be offensive, obviously, if that thing is, a terrible thing, or it's to a terrible group.
Tiki torches.
But I also think that, well, yeah, I feel so bad for the Tiki Torch company.
Like, how did we get lined up with them?
All we wanted to do was give some Jimmy Buffett vibes to people's boring ass backyards and maybe keep some mosquitoes away. And all of a sudden, we're we're associated with the Nazi youth and that creepy, skinny guy. And I can't think of his. I know that he got doxxed, but but I do feel like that's as far as I know, the Tiki Torch Corporation has made taken zero sides in the culture war. But
You know what they say? If you're being held up in the air by a bunch of Nazis and they're cheering, you're a Nazi.
yeah,
Or you're a Tiki Torch.
I
So
don't.
I
Yeah,
think
I do
so. I
think
think
that
when
the Tiki Torch thing, I think, is like, if I was gonna buy a Tiki Torch at this point in time, I wouldn't. I'm not sure. Does one look better, or does like 3 or 4 look better? I think if you buy too many, that's a problem. But if you buy just one, it looks like I just need my own Tiki Torch.
I think what you
How do
need to
I
do
buy
when
a
you
Tiki Torch without looking like a Nazi now?
okay, I took a class. The proper way to buy tiki torches, you do
Yeah.
have to buy more than one,
Okay.
and you need to say loudly to the cashier upon purchase,
Shalom.
"Is this the right amount for a 70 by 20 backyard party?"
Yep. Will these illuminate the burning cross? Will this light a kerosene cross for me?
Is this the best brand, or should I replace them? Um, so, what I was going to say though,
I hope,
when you talked
Alex, I
about
hope you're clipping, because this is some good shit for.
when you talked about us versus themism of the argument, I think the us and them. I think I'm the us and you're the them, and that actually, I think it's the, I think it's the, no, it's the middle and the fringes of the us and the them. I think it's the far right and the far left who the pure pessimistic look of why it's being done,
Yeah.
and the middle who are like, oh, they're doing something to support them,
Yeah.
and on either side of the. I
I'm
don't think
gonna-
it's the. I don't think it's just right left. I think it's kind of moderate versus extreme.
When you
That's
say
the-
far left,
I
do you mean American far left, or do you mean true far left?
Yeah. We're talking here. Something
Okay.
that we can say, I hate the capitalism. So if a company's doing it, I suspect them. They're doing it for greed.
Yeah.
Like you, right?
Yeah.
Automatically it's a greed thing. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's also
It's
something
not-
else. Yeah. It's something else. But it's greed. It's a marketing thing. And then you have the far right who's like, it's woke. They're just being woke. They're doing it because they're kissing ass of the woke. And the people in the middle are like, oh, they're willing to support this cause and make a profit while doing it, but they're willing to support this cause.
I don't have a problem with people making a profit doing it. I am skeptical to cynical, somewhere in that skeptical to cynical range of what I think about it being done. And I try to apply that with, like, so Ben and Jerry's has different ice cream for different causes, and they do that year round. And I believe that when you buy one of those specific ice creams for that specific cause, money goes to it all year round. It is very different than when June 1st the Pride collection comes out, and on July 1st you have like it's very much fuck the LGBTQ, or just like, we don't give a shit about the LGBTQ, or whatever other activist group. We're talking about that right now because we're going into June, but like Black History Month, and then March 1st you're like, and here's Derek Chauvin's autobiography or whatever, then I'm like, well, you fucking suck. Like, but if you give me more of a reason to think that it's not just a quick buck for you, and that there is some
I mean, like Ben and Jerry's has an LGBTQ plus section of their website about their values. They don't just do it once a year. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Walmart sells rainbow sherbet, not sorbet, but sherbet because it's American, for Pride. Walmart. Yeah. So is that a money grab, or is that Walmart, a super conservative based company, saying, yeah, we may be conservative based, but we're also inclusive?
If I'm
because they're risking alienating people by doing it. I mean, sure, if you go to Reddit, there's people
Okay.
with their torches melting their sorbets and throwing them away.
I'm very skeptical of Walmart on everything because I think Walmart is a bad company. Regardless of that, I think that the way that they've historically treated people is terrible. I am anti Walmart. That being said, yeah, no, I think that I would guess that it's also like rainbow sherbet is a standard flavor, so like or a standard
But
thing.
I mean, the packaging is
Yeah,
multicolored, different colored
sure.
hands holding up. It's I mean, it's very clearly
So
Pride.
they've
Yeah.
changed the packaging.
Well,
They've
for
made
two,
new
yeah.
packaging, but they haven't made a new flavor for the month. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
they're not.
they're Walmart. They're not making a new flavor. What's the new flavor going to be? Ketchup? I mean, come on, it's Walmart.
I don't know.
Different flavor mayonnaise.
I'm skeptical.
Though I do hear, though I will say in Walmart's favor, I don't shop at Walmart either. Like the only time I would ever go to Walmart really was like for the doorbusters on Black Friday for PlayStation, where they're not making any money because they're practically giving it away to get you in the door, and I buy nothing else.
Yeah.
But they do, from what I understand from the TikToks, their like imitation Big Mac special sauce is like the closest to real Big Mac special sauce that you can buy pre-made.
Nice.
I do understand that, and I'm not going to buy it because I'm never a Big Mac fan anyway.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have a Whopper. To me, a Whopper is like a perfect burger. I mean, it's a cheap version of it. But like I'd rather grill a burger myself. But the lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, a little bit of mayo, a little bit of ketchup. Like that's a
Sesame
burger
seed bun.
A brioche bun would be even better. But but like, that's the perfect topping burger. I don't need anything special. I want what's on a Whopper. To me, is the perfect topping for a burger.
Yeah, I like all those things on a burger. I like that. I like Swiss and mushrooms.
Mushroom. You like Swiss and mushroom because you told me to go to Culver's and try their Swiss and mushroom burger, and it was a darn tasty burger.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, when you recommend things, I remember when you recommend things. That was like 5 years ago you recommended that.
Anyway,
so when Culver's does rainbow cheese curds,
I'm not eating them. Why are they rainbow? What? I mean, here's the thing.
It's a little white cheddar, a little yellow cheddar, a little blue cheese.
I was gonna say when it comes to food coloring, you got to go real bold because otherwise it just looks like something's wrong. Sometimes even with the bold, it can look like something's wrong. Like if but yeah.
And one of my children was very young. Rainbow ice cream was their favorite one because of the colors. And like there was a Good Humor themed ice cream store in downtown Apex back then, and like they had rainbow vanilla, and that was the shit right there.
Yeah.
And then they had Superman vanilla, and it was like red, yellow, and blue. And again, just vanilla, but food color.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so I'm torn on the issue of the left, the middle, and the side's view of how much of it is cynicism and how much of it is support, because it's hard to tell which it is, except for a company like Ben and Jerry's where they're so out there.
Yeah,
they're living, they're walking the walk, they're talking the talk, they're squawking the squawk, they're balking the balk.
I think that you have to look at more than the moment to give it context.
But I also wonder, does it matter? Like, even if they're doing it for the most cynical of reasons, they're giving representation, they're giving support, they're moving the Ostrom window further to support by making it more mainstream. Even if they're doing it for a cynical reason, the end benefit is it makes it more mainstream. Everybody contributing to Pride for the last 20 years has made Pride more accepted. That's why we moved to where trans is the conversation, not gay, because we've got so accepting.
So if I agree with that point, and I don't think that I have a problem with it if you're 100% cynical on it, if you're at least consistent about it. When I say that, I mean like it does sometimes, and maybe LGBT is not the. I can't think of an example, but I feel like I've seen it where it feels like, June you're like, like bring on, like let's have equality and love for our LGBT brothers and sisters, and
we'll string them up in July,
and then July 1st it's like check out these F slurs, and like if that's your case, if you're just then I don't agree with you. But if you're like July 1st, you're just like, all right, business as usual, and you kind of ignore
But
it.
but
I'm
even
like,
if you do that, like maybe the least sympathetic person in your fan base is like, oh, Patriot.Corp is even doing something for them. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. Like maybe someone's needle is being
yeah,
moved, even through when it was done through cynicism.
sure,
Maybe it's because really figure the companies like that. Like if we say Walmart's a right wing company, because it is. But let's say
yeah,
I don't think they go out of their way to intentionally like not they're not selling all Trump stuff and no Biden stuff, but they just are what
yeah,
they are, right? That's their base customer, the ones we need to reach. They're the ones who need to be moved.
yeah. And
So
those are all fair points, and I think that you're right.
I think the new one is that the new June thing is Juneteenth. Like that's the one in the last decade that has suddenly become the "Are you supporting Juneteenth?" So I
Yeah,
started a new job 2 months ago. Everybody, I'm happy now, and we have Juneteenth off.
don't show off. Me and Alex are gonna be pissed.
You love your jobs. You love your jobs. People can hear you from work. Um,
No, this will get edited out, and I can see that there's nobody watching the stream. Uh,
yeah. So, but we have Juneteenth off, and I'm like, that's so cool. I mean, my last company was French, so they don't know what Juneteenth is. So I'm not
yeah.
surprised we don't have it off. But I hear it, I'm like, we get Juneteenth off? What happened? That's so cool.
So my parents' anniversary is Juneteenth, and they
That
got
was
married
cool of
in
them to choose that day.
1982, and so clearly two white kids from Massachusetts in 1982 didn't have a fucking clue what Juneteenth was. And they probably haven't heard about it for more than 5 or 6 years. But now, every year, when someone says something about Juneteenth, my mom goes, "It's our anniversary. I like to think everyone's celebrating me." And I'm like, "Stop saying that. Stop saying that." Like, it's fine to enjoy your
we
anniversary. That's
we
not a
do
problem.
blackface and we go out for fried chicken and it's great.
But I'm always like, nope, nope, nope.
I love that so much.
My
We try to get a
sister,
really good tan early in the season, so we're the blackest people in our
yeah, yeah.
town.
My sister-in-law and my cousin both have the same birthday as Hitler, and you don't want to know how they celebrate their birthday.
Achtung, baby.
I have this little mustache now for just my birthday. Back to Nike, because Nike was the example that was used in the thing, the original thing that made me think of this topic for the month, or for the episode. Nike Nike's this weird thing for me, because from what I understand, Nike does not have great labor practices, but Nike has been very supportive of Colin Kaepernick and other black athletes, and then they have their Pride collection, and so like that is another side of it where it's like, do you get to use, or not do you get to, does using does making an impact in these good ways do anything to offset, I mean, if Nike is actually making shoes in sweatshops, or doing any of their stuff in sweatshops with children, or adults in sweatshops, you know where do we how do we feel like, oh, they're doing all the public facing stuff is great, and we all kind of know what's going on behind the scenes, and that's kind of Walmart too, I guess. But Walmart, I just don't think of as having that much going on as far as the public facing stuff, whereas Nike does. Nike was the face of supporting Colin Kaepernick, and now they have a Pride collection. And if you watch the Jordan movie, the guy who what's the guy that started Nike? I can't think of his name. Uh, he looks cool in that, like relatively cool, like kind of lame cool, but like he seems zen and stuff. And so where is are they using social things to launder their brand as well? Is that, and then does that
Well,
take
but
away?
there's also like I said, I used to work in a communications department, and our communications person was very my boss was very honest and true when she wanted to support different holidays and different
Yeah.
observances and stuff, regardless of what the company was. So it could be that people at Nike who are making who are making the we're going to use sweatshops in Indonesia decisions and we're not going to be green decisions are different than the people in marketing who are saying and in
Yeah.
corporate social responsibility who are saying we need to give back and we need to have the Be True campaign that supports people. So like because the company doesn't just have one brain, so it can definitely it
Yeah.
can exist in both worlds at the same time. That
True.
it has horrible practices over here because those people are the people making that decision, and good practices over here because different people. Like it doesn't make the company good that it's doing some good things, but it's the people who are doing that can be earnest in what they're doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not that I blame individuals. It's that I wonder, as a whole, as an entity, if it is an attempt at laundering an image. But
Yeah. But I mean, besides also, it's there's a job. The job of the PR department is to make the image good, whether it's laundering it, like whether it is
yeah,
like so. The company I just left, BMAE in France, they never rank as highly in those kind of rankings of good companies because they're French and conservative in the way that they don't sing their own praises. Like when the PR department writes a thing about what they've done well, it gets rejected by management because they don't like patting themselves on the back.
yeah,
So like things that they've lost points on in Best Place to Work, like are things they do. They just don't brag that they do it.
yeah,
You know, but so it's hard. So but a company has a department that's their job to do that, regardless of whether the company's good or bad. That's not done necessarily connected, like to do it. It's just you have to do good PR.
yeah.
But um, but I think that Nike still has sweatshops in Indonesia, or at least maybe not sweatshops anymore, but like do
Phil Knight.
things.
Sorry.
But they do things in Indonesia because it's cheaper to do it because you don't have to pay the same kind of wage you pay here, and so
Yeah,
people. But and then even that becomes a weird issue because if they weren't there with factories, those people wouldn't have any jobs. Like if they're paying slave wages, it's just evil altogether. But going somewhere where it's cheap is still better for the people who are. It's confusing. And my grandfather worked in sweatshops, his whole life, so it's
he
I could
loved it.
put my father through college, and
Yeah. Did you see the Glass Onion?
I didn't realize it was there. I stepped on it and it shattered. I cut my foot. It was layers of pain.
The movie.
Oh, the movie, the on the Amazons, yeah.
I loved in the part when they're asking Kate Hudson and they're like, "Oh, please tell me you didn't think that a sweatshop was where sweatpants are made." She's like, "Yeah," and I loved it. That was so good. That part. It's good sweatshop humor.
It's
Any?
my,
Sorry,
I have a
we've
lot
been
of
going
good.
for
I have
40
a
minutes.
lot of good sweatshop stories. My grandfather worked in sweatshops. I have a lot of stories of his.
Awesome. So you're pro sweatshop,
I
which makes sense as a middle of the road liberal that you would be pro sweatshop.
sweatshops
Us,
put my family where it is today. If my
uh,
grandfather didn't have that, so it was thing
us
like literally,
far left people, far left
like
by me.
my grandfather like literally had no job, was wandering around, and he ran into a former maid of his family who had come to America before him, and she was like, "You're here broke a cravat because we had money back in the old country, but he ran away from home, so he had nothing."
Yeah.
And she got him she got him a job. She remembered that we had a sewing machine in our house. So he's like, "Did you know how to use that?" He said yes, and she said, "You can get a job sewing things," and got him a job in the sweatshops where he was in the first unions there. He helped create the unions. He had a friend killed by union busters in front of him. They came out and stabbed a friend of his. There were four of them walking together, and people came out, grabbed one of them, dragged him up, and stabbed him in the grass in front of them, at the park, and said, "This is what happens when you do unions," and walked away.
Wow.
Exciting stuff. But that factory, every June, hung up a rainbow flag. So they were good. They were good overall.
Back then they did. Is this the grandfather who'd be like 120 right now?
Oh, no, a lot older than that.
Oh.
Well, actually, not a lot older. He was born in 1890, so a lot
Yeah,
older.
130.
130s, yeah.
Yeah.
He was 103 when he died.
Oh. Yeah.
course, all my grandparents would be about that old if they were alive.
Oh my god!
They were my
So
grandparents. I was
Logan,
graduating middle school. You said your parents got married in '82. I'm like, that's when I was graduating middle school. So I was like,
yeah, Logan came home from school last week and was like, my friend, I don't remember what the friend's name is. It's not a friend that I've heard of before. And he's like, my friend, blah, 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 said that Hitler is still alive. And I was like, I can guarantee you that's not true. And he goes, well, he said that. Why do you think he said that? I'm like, well, I said, there is speculation. I don't know if it's conspiracy theory or not. I said, it's to me, it's more realistic than your average conspiracy theory, but that Hitler didn't die as reported or when they think he did. I said, but I can guarantee you he's dead now. And he goes, how can you guarantee that? I said, because he'd be 135 years old.
he'd be the oldest person who ever lived if he was alive.
And he goes, well, there's somebody who's like 117 or something. I'm like, and that person's the oldest person you've ever heard of. And that is almost 20 years older than that. And he goes,
yeah.
He goes, well, it's possible. I'm like, it is not possible. Hitler is not alive. Hitler may have been alive. Hitler, could have lived into my lifetime. He'd be under 100 when I was born. But Hitler's dead now, I promise you.
Well,
unless he's cryo-frozen.
Yes, you're not taking the cryo-freeze into account.
Yeah.
I used to read these, comics that were like strange, Twilight Zone kind of comics, strange war tales and weird tales and stuff. And there was one where I think it was called Strange War Tales or something like that, weird war tales. And there was one story where it starts out some guy in rags with long hair is being dragged before Hitler and Hitler's like kill this person and shoot them, and he goes, I'm off to my destiny, and it's at the end of the war, and the guy as he's dying is like, your destiny, ah ha ha ha, and dies. And then Hitler goes down to this place where they're cryo-freezing him into the war, and their scientists have determined that every 1,100 years history will repeat itself almost identically, and whatever. So they freeze him, and he wakes up, and everything, and he's like, he comes out, and he goes, what, did it work? Did it not work? And there's the dead body of the scientist, because of course the soldiers killed the scientist as soon as they threw the switch to make sure he couldn't tell anyone. And everything is dirty and dusty, and he realizes it worked. He's in the future, and he hears explosions. He goes, what? The war's still going on? No, of course. History repeats itself. It's a new war. Yes, time for me to rise. And he goes up to the surface, and he instantly gets captured by soldiers who take him in front of someone, and he's like, you have to listen to me. I am the ruler. I am the Führer. And the guy's like, kill this fool. It's time for me to see my destiny. And then the camera, the next panel is like a futuristic silvery suit, but a Hitler face and mustache shooting Hitler. And as Hitler dies, he's like, your destiny, ha 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 ha, and he dies as that guy's going down to cryo freeze when history will repeat itself exactly in 1,100 years.
Oh.
I love it, because the idea that Hitler has an endless cycle of stuff.
An endless cycle of Hitlers.
All the way down.
Which, yeah. Did you ever see Hunters on Amazon?
I have not watched Hunters on Amazon.
I think you would like it. It's
because they kill Nazis.
Yeah. It's in the 70s. It's Jewish people hunting down Nazis in South America and other places. And spoiler alert, it's been out for 2 years, so if you don't know at this point, but the end of season 1, you find the big cliffhanger reveal is that Ava Braun is the person running the Nazi the Nazi attempt to regain power, and then you find out that she's been living with Hitler the whole time in Argentina or whatever.
Yeah, that Logan was right.
Yeah. That was nice.
So you realize that Logan has a friend whose parents are Nazis. I mean, clearly, why else would he hear that Hitler's still alive?
Okay, first of all, some people can be obsessed with Hitler and not like Hitler.
Sarah, you tell their child he's still alive.
Well, he could have just misunderstood. And YouTube and conspiracy. Logan and his friends love to watch conspiracy theory shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now you get me fucking worried.
You were at the I Doubt It podcast presentation.
Yeah, Logan, what was your friend's name? His name was Klaus.
So true story. Second grade, Joseph comes home. I got in trouble in school today. Why? I pushed a kid. Why did you push him? Because he told me I was going to hell. What's this kid's name? Jan. It's because I'm a Jew, I'm going to hell. So we go up to school and we talk to the principal, and the principal, we tell him that this is why Joseph did that. And the principal says, I find that very hard to believe. I don't think a second grader is telling another second grader that they're going to hell. I'm like, Joseph doesn't know what hell is. He just knows it's a mean thing to say. Like, he didn't make that up by any means. So she's like, well, I'll talk to Jan if I get a chance. I said, yeah, I can hear it when you say it, Jan. And he's German. He's from Germany, like it's from Germany. And then Madhavi had PTA stuff to do, so we were hanging around in the office for a little bit. Principal left, walked outside, like in the playground, and there was the second graders on recess, and there was Jan. So she pulled him aside and said, I heard you and Joseph got into a little fight. And Jan goes, yeah, he pushed me down because I told him he was going to hell. And she's like, oh, you did? Why would you tell him that? He goes, because that's what we learned in Sunday school, that if you don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell. And he's a Jew, so he doesn't believe in Jesus. He's going to hell, right? And she said, how do you think he felt when you told him that? And then the kid went, oh, he probably didn't like it, and started to cry because he was just putting two and two together when he was taught. And then he apologized to Joseph. Joseph apologized to him. They became the best of friends for years. Like, the kid moved to, like, not back to Germany, but to somewhere in Switzerland. Somewhere in Switzerland or Norway.
It was in
somewhere.
Poland. This camp.
Yeah, but the kid moved back to Europe, and they used to Skype, for like a year, which at that age, a year is a long time to keep up a friendship, internationally.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like once or twice, the kid came back to the U.S. and they got together. Like, the parents called, said we're coming to the U.S. and they got together. So, but it was like this time where the kid named Jan was the kid who said you're going to hell for not believing in Jesus, Jew.
All right, we should start wrapping up. Do you have any last thoughts on the topic before we start diving into the plug in the ship?
I think that everybody should walk the walk and talk the talk. So, wherever you are, if there's pride, things going on in the cities and towns around you, go check it out. You don't have to be in the LGBTQIA plus community to go interact and support, and just be there to say, yeah, I support you guys. And why is it pride? Some people wonder, why are they proud? They're proud because they're being who they are in spite of people marginalizing them and physically attacking them throughout history. So that's why it's proud to be that. It's proud because in the face of being attacked, they wouldn't be proud if they weren't being attacked. So, so go show your support.
True pride, true God-honoring pride, not like that other pride that gets its own month.
No, it's not going it before a fall.
Yeah. That have you seen? Maybe it was Cog. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Cogdis, but they were talking about Harrison Butthurt or whatever his name is, and they were talking about how he looks like he's AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely, we support the LGBT community, the two and hopefully three of us. I'm pretty sure Alex does. But he's not here to defend himself. Oh, what, Alex? Oh, you don't support them? Oh, I can't repeat that on the air.
That's so stereotypical, man. Why would you say that?
Yep, that's borderline. Pretty sure that we would get kicked off. No. Alex is not saying anything. I'm just being silly. But
he's probably saying a lot right now, but we don't hear him.
Anyway, yeah, but we I am in favor of social justice, whether that's for ethnic minorities, sexual minorities, gender minorities,
all marginalized communities.
So, all right, why don't you start your video rant?
I don't have a video rant. I was just thinking that if you're watching us right now live, if you're the one person watching us live, go ahead and like this video. Or if you're watching us in the future, because we'll put a video up, like the video, make a comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. Even if you're never going to watch us again, subscribe to the channel. What does it hurt you to subscribe to the channel? It's a way to support us for free. You best by subscribing to the channel, making a comment, liking the video, and ding, ding, ding went the trolley, ring the bell for notifications, and then you could ignore the notifications like I do for all the channels that I get notifications for.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. Doesn't cost you nothing. I'm not the one asking for money. I would never do that to you. What kind of lowlife would come to you and say, "Give us money"? Mike?
Well, I'm not going to start off with that. If you're listening to the podcast on any of our podcast platforms, obviously give us likes and reviews are great, or and definitely follow or subscribe depending on what your platform allows. If you want to support us in a more financial way, you can do that either through the Apple Podcast app for $1 a month, supporting the show, and that will allow you to get access to these episodes on Mondays instead of Fridays, so 4 days early. And if you want to support us but don't use Apple Podcasts, you can go on patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. And there you will find not only the $1 option, but a $3 less censored option and a $10 buck wild option. Mostly it's just Matthew saying just horrendous shit. But also we started adding. Well, I'm trying to add video to the Patreon, the uncensored video to the Patreon. It is not working on the Talking About the Big Stuff Patreon, which is weird, but it is working on Chocolate Diamond Media's Patreon, and you get other stuff there. So if you, for $10 a month over there, you would get this, the uncensored video version, like the full version of the video. And
we're naked in the uncensored version.
I mean, it's just nipples, but and it would also get you access to other stuff that's not talking about the big stuff. If that's how you wanted to support us, that's great. That would be that's patreon.com/chocolate diamond media 105. And that's it for the plugs. Matthew, you got anything else?
No, I just want to tell everyone thank you for being with us to talk about the big stuff, and we want to be your ally.
Yeah, for that sweet, sweet cash. The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.